Chapter 2 Suen. In ancient times, people would easily live past 100, and their movements would even become weak or frail. Yefan closed the Yellow Emperor's eternal canon. The Suen text on ancient times floated through his mind. There were no accurate and thorough writings on the history of ancient times. That era was covered by a dense fog of mystery for the present people, allowing people to have many fanciful thoughts. A gentle breeze blew. In the courtyard, several Chinese parasol trees gently swayed. The lush leaves and branches rustled, and a fresh breath of air blew through his window. Yifan enjoyed these kinds of wondrous and surprising novels. Steeping a cup of light green tea, he began to continue browsing the ancient text in his hand. Ordinary people would all live past 100 years of age, and their mobility would not deteriorate with age. Just what kind of mysterious time was this ancient era? The Suen text writings about ancient people were something that modern people would have difficulty believing. However, it was curious about how the people from this ancient era seemed to be veiled in obscurity. Apparently, this period was covered in an endless fog, and the civilization of this time had disappeared from the flow of history. Is it possible that there really was an ancient history that no one knows about? After some fanciful thoughts, he continued to read. In terms of ancient historical knowledge, the Yellow Emperor's internal canon was an absolute treasure. The book was published thousands of years ago and had become the #1 book out of China's 3 masterpieces. Of course, the book's text couldn't be completely trusted, but as a whole, it was still extremely precious. Hold heaven and earth, grasp yin and yang, breathe in qi essence, guard the soul spirit, and move the muscles as one. In this manner, one can live a long life, defeat heaven and earth, never have an end, and find their life's dale. The Suen text often brought up the ancient times. By understanding the changes of heaven and earth, as well as refining and nurturing qi essence, one could become an immortal with a long life. Of course, modern man would have difficulty believing this. Without him being aware, the red sun slowly dropped westwards. The sunset spilled out onto the lawn outside the window, and the parasol trees were covered with a faint red glow. Yifan put down the Yellow Emperor's internal canon and prepared to join an important class reunion. It had already been 3 years since he had graduated from university. After he graduated, Yifan continued to stay within the same city. Recalling his past, he felt like his innocent times as a student were now long gone. 3 years could not be considered long or short. His fellow classmates had long since left to go in various directions, each living out their own unique lives. His cell phone's ringtone broke this train of thought. It was from his fellow classmate, Linji, an extremely smart and beautiful woman. In a neighboring city, she had used her exceptional skills at her job to surpass others, and a year ago, she had already been promoted to department manager. After answering the phone, the sound of Lin Ji's teasing came out. At university, she had displayed exceptional communication skills, which had made it very easy for her to make good relationships. "What? Do you miss me?" Yifan lightly countered. A sweet and pleasant laughter came out. I'm not too clear on the party's location. Let's go together." After setting up a place to meet up, Yifan got into his car and left. In university, he had once tried to woo Linji, but he had been tactfully denied and told that 2 of them weren't compatible. Linji was an extremely beautiful and inspiring woman. Moreover, her intelligence and shrewdness were even more exceptional than her beauty. She was extremely clear on what she needed, and she did what she needed to do to get it. 10 minutes before the agreed-upon time, Yifan arrived at the Parkson shopping mall and found a parking spot. Getting out of the car, he waited beside the road for Linji. The entire city was bathed in the afterglow of the setting sun, and many buildings were covered with the golden light. On the roads, people and vehicles went back and forth in an unending flow. 7 or 8 minutes later, a Toyota arrived and parked beside the road. The passenger door opened to reveal the beautiful Lin Ji. Yifan smiled and teased. "You even have special taxis for yourself, huh?" "Stop being so sarcastic. I don't have any personal taxis. That's our classmate's Lu Yunzi's car." Although he had kept in touch with his friends over these 3 years, he had only met up with them once in the last 2 years. Lin Ji was just as youthful and beautiful as she had been. She continued to wear whatever she wanted. Today, she was wearing skin-tight jeans and a purple t-shirt that accented her curves and made her look more slender. "We haven't seen each other in 2 years. How are you?" Lin Ji's gentle black hair fell to her shoulders, the light reflecting off it. She had been born with red phoenix eyes, which complemented her long eyelashes, giving her a unique and natural charming air. "I'm well," said Yifan. He continued to tease her, saying, "Lin Ji, with your natural looks and beauty, it seems like such a letdown that you didn't go into show business." "It's a real shame, right?" Lin Ji's laugh was extremely moving, and she appeared very lovely. Her red phoenix eyes slanted, and in the sunset, her red lips appeared to be exceptionally sensual. At this moment, the parked car's windows rolled down to reveal a familiar face in the driver's seat. Lu Yunzi. Similar to Yifan, he continued to stay in the city after graduating. He had started a business with the help of one of his more powerful relatives. Although its scope couldn't be considered large, he was still considered as someone with quite a bit of success amongst his classmates. Although they continued to live in the same city, the two of them didn't have much contact. The main reason for this was because they had a bit of conflict during their university days. Lu Yunzi didn't get out of the car. He unenthusiastically laughed and said, "Long time no see." "Yeah, when we have some time, we should hang out together." Seeing that he didn't even get out of the car, Yifan also simply returned a basic greeting. "Did you take a taxi?" Lu Yunzu asked him coolly. Yifan was too lazy to bother with this kind of obvious contempt, and he merely shrugged. Lin Ji was a considerably astute and clever woman. Naturally, she sensed the atmosphere and smiled towards Yifan. "This time, I've rushed over and called all our fellow classmates who have stayed in the city for a get-together. How about we all take Lu Yunzi's car to the party?" Before Yifan could even respond, Lu Yunzi opened his mouth and said in a somewhat apologetic tone, "I'm sorry. I already agreed to pick up 2 other old classmates who are waiting, just at the intersection. So there aren't enough seats." "It doesn't matter. You go first and I'll follow you." After saying this, Yifan turned and smiled towards Lin Ji. "Are you coming with me, or?" In the brief moment that Lin Ji hesitated, Lu Yunzi urged, "Oh, beautiful Lin Ji, you should go in my car. Otherwise, I'd worry that you'd drown in someone else's saliva." After standing beside the road for a couple seconds, Lin Ji apologized to Yifan. Under Lu Yunzi's urging, she got into his Toyota. While the car window was rolling up, Yifan instinctively heard Lu Yunzi disdainfully muttering, "Right now it's rush hour as people are getting off work. It'll take forever to wait for a taxi." After this, the Toyota sped off, leaving a trail of dust. In the past, Yifan could have been considered a pretty influential person on the university campus, but now he had been assumed to be taking a taxi. Compared to Lu Yunzi, he appeared somewhat down and out. Yifan would generally ignore people who acted like Lu Yunzi. However, Lin Ji's behavior did cause him to feel somewhat disappointed. But each person had their own way of conducting themselves. In reality, it was naturally impossible for people to avoid things like vanity, pride, etc. And all in all, Yefan was not entirely against it. The red sun was already falling below the horizon that appeared to have been dyed a blood-red color, gradually turning dark. The entire city appeared to be draped by a thick, dusky cloth, as the curtain of night was on the edge of arriving. At this very moment, 9 titanic dragon corpses pulling a bronze coffin were lying in the pitch-black and ice-cold universe. This shocking scene appeared to be eternally frozen in time. Inside the International Space Station, the astronauts had already sent back this Earth-shattering information down to Earth and were waiting for their next instructions.